Game number 1 is getting underway right now, guys. Superjj versus Neirea. This is the big win for both of them if they want to take a lead in the series.
Yeah, and you got to believe Superjj. Oh, you can see this right here. He's got a Keys and Mystic in his deck. He is trying to get Neirea from the get-go.
Yeah, I'm curious exactly.
Oh, that's an Ice Berry. It looks like he knew exactly what he's going to be queuing up.
That is crazy. I mean, you know, we talked about how Superjj at the very beginning was doing this homework and making sure he targets players. This is an opponent that he obviously has done his homework on. This is what happens when you give Superjj time to prepare for a match.
And look how good this opening hand from Superjj is, too. Look at this curve.
What more could you want? He has
Against Freeze Mage, he has all the tools you need already.
Yeah, he's got turn 2 Shade, he's got a Keys and Mystic, he's got Druid of the Claw, he's got Keeper for Doomsayer.
Yeah,
this is already kind of a bad matchup for Freeze Mage. When you have a Keys and Mystic in here and you have the right tools, it is nigh unwinnable for the Freeze Mage player.
Yeah, and we've heard people talk about, you know, Purple in particular, that he doesn't think Keys and Mystic is a great card, but in this matchup, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, there are certain kinds. I tend to agree with him too. I think Keys and Mystic is frankly a pretty trash card, but in the right circumstances, it is brutal.
Yeah, and look at this great turn Superjj has in front of him if he wants to. He could actually eat this Acolyte of Pain, and if he wants to keep the Keeper of the Grove around, he can use his hero power to take care of the other minion as well, because the Keeper of the Grove, a little important to keep around to take care of Doomsayer.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of players hang on to this card for a very long time. I frankly would like to see him unleash the Shade. I think with his hand, the way it's constructed, he's got more than enough gas in the tank to really keep the push on this game. So why waste the tools that you have at your disposal? I don't think he needs to be very aggressive with these tools early on.
And the thing is, if he takes his Shade out of stealth this turn, Neirea is almost priced into taking care of it.
Yeah.
So he's going to use a removal spell, so that might open the door for your Druid of the Claw next turn, and then, you know, your Ancient of Lore down the line.
Yeah, that's another good point, too. I mean, Frostbolt, one of those very, very important utility cards for Freeze Mage. If he can get that out early and have him take care of some of this card draw, I think that's a fantastic spot to be.
Yeah. What do you think's taking him so long here? What do you think he's thinking about?
I think he's really considering all of the options here, and I don't blame him either. This is, because honestly, there's a lot of justification into using Keeper of the Grove, I think. Because you're denying your opponent so many cards, and they've clearly invested in this Acolyte of Pain for card draw, and then also just leaving the Shade behind. It's fine, I think, to have this here and just be a big threat every single turn you're going into a potential Savage Roar turn. It's just extra damage.
Yeah, just trying to get the extra body in play is what you're saying. Yeah,
I think it's a totally reasonable plan. So we're gonna get Superjj's perspective up for you as soon as we can. There it goes. And Neirea, in the meantime, he has to just be patient. I mean, this is the game plan this deck has to go with. It has to be patient, try to build its board, and then get some sort of value from that. Stuff like Blood Mage can pick up extra cards. Mad Scientist, obviously pulling secrets out of your deck is fantastic.
Yeah, every card in the deck has a specific role. It's either getting them extra cards or getting them to the late game so they can combo you out with cards like Alexstrasza and Archmage Antonidas.
Yeah, and now Superjj is considering attacking this Acolyte of Pain, but I don't really see the purpose once it's silenced. You know, I'd love to see him attack the Blood Mage with the Keeper of the Grove, pull out Frostbolt, but he just wants to favor damage here. This is kind of a situation. Whoa, Nelly. That is a perfect draw from Neirea. I mean, I cannot picture a better draw than Frost Nova.
Not only that, but what is Superjj going to do going forward from here as well? He doesn't have an answer to this.
No, he's got to. I mean, he has to draw Keeper of the Grove. This was the downside of using this Keeper of the Grove, is if your opponent puts this combo together, they have a potential to pull back into this game. Yeah. Now, the benefit from that, though, is that he has denied a lot of card draw from Neirea, and he's gotten in a little bit of extra damage. So, pros and cons to both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see the pros and cons to both sides. I would have liked the more aggressive play that that I had outlined, but again, Superjj is a much better player than I am.
Actually, kind of looking at this hand, he was looking at his Druid of the Claws. I don't think that charging is the worst option here, simply because he has so much mana left over in his hand. Say he uses this Druid of the Claw, he's still got 14, 19 mana worth of direct threats that he can add to the board. If he just squeezes in 4 damage very inefficiently with a card, I don't think there's necessarily a problem with that.
Yeah, now what you might see from Superjj here, you're going to see, why isn't he deployed this Keys and Mystic yet to steal a secret? But I think you're going to see him play a long game and set up for the turn where, this ice block is going to be saving Neirea's life, and he's going to just take it from him and kill him that turn.
Yeah, I'm actually very happy with the fact that he understands the game plan in this one.
Come on, make it 10-5 one time.
Doesn't want to get fireballed straight away, so I can't blame him for this one. But yeah, that's a really great point you bring up. A lot of people, when they have Keys and Mystic, they're very happy to just take the value they
fire
get
it off
from
on the first secret.
But he's looking for one of those turns where Neirea feels absolutely safe sitting behind his ice block and then punishes him for having done that.
Yeah, Neirea's hand, not great going forward from here. He's got a Pyroblast and 2 Frostbolts in it. Not exactly what he wants at this time in this matchup.
Yeah, the card draw is so important here. And Superjj even understands that that 1-2 is not very valuable, wants to preserve as much of his own life as he can. So if he starts building armor, like say he gets to 3 or 4 armor and he gets Alexstrasza, suddenly it's a little bit more difficult for Neirea to close that game out.
You know, speaking of Alex Straza, Neirea, it just seems like the last week, every time you mention a card, the player draws it.
No, that's never happened. I've never done that. This is a tough turn for Neirea, too. I mean, it's looking like a pretty easy Blizzard, but the real question to me then is how does he actually start killing this Ancient of Lore?
Yeah, like where does he go forward from here?
Yeah, just going to Blizzard to prevent damage and start pinging. You know, to me, it looks like he wants to get that Alex Straza on board and start pressing damage into Superjj's face. I mean, he's got 16 in hand. Why not?
And the thing is, Superjj is going to attack this life total a lot over the next couple turns. If Neirea gets, you know, really safe behind that ice block, this Keys Mystic's going to end the game very quickly.
Yeah, not only that, but this can buy Superjj another turn as well. You know, say that Neirea goes down to the exact amount of damage he needs to kill Superjj, and then suddenly he's the one with an ice block. That's a disaster situation.
You know, I hadn't even thought about that way, like stealing the secret to actually use it, because in the situations where I've been in, I've never stole them to use them against the Freeze Mage. Like, it's always to steal them to kill them.
Yeah, and now Neirea, he's got to be worried about the potential of Savage Roar here. You know, he can Alex Straza, but will that get his Ice Block popped? And if he Alex Strazas and say his opponent is able to deal with everything, heal up a little bit, maybe stick a Lothab in the face of something.
Yeah, well, the thing is like, Superjj only has 13 damage right now. If he were to play Alex Straza, he has to find 6 more damage, so you have to get something from him like Force of Nature. Or are you okay with something like that? Yeah.
That's the thing, is I don't know if he can afford to really play that circumstance. You know, if he finds himself in a spot where Superjj has Force of Nature or Savage Roar or, you know, Keeper of the Grove and Druid of the Claw, like he's got multiple ways to pop this Ice Block, and he doesn't have a way to defend himself afterwards.
I've seen Neirea go through all the thought process
I can't
here.
blame him for this one. I think this is a pretty reasonable play. This is just a tough matchup in general. You know, if he takes this big risk and it fails, he outright loses the game. But if he takes this risk and say that Superjj just doesn't have a lot of pressure to add to the board this turn, things look fine for him suddenly. Yeah,
we've seen this matchup happen a few times here already on HPL, and it seems to be pretty firmly in control for the Druid player.
Yeah, and the Superjj is just hoping that Neirea doesn't have a second Flame Strike. That's really the big one he's hoping for, but this is really now the opening. I think that Neirea is probably going to have to go for Alex Straza and hope for the best, but with an Arcane Intellect draw, I mean, maybe he digs for a freeze effect. Yeah, this is, I mean...
This is like playing a removal spell, though, because Superjj cannot leave this minion on the board.
There's certainly a chance he can't, you know, but again, if Force of Nature is going to be enough to pop this block, and then he gets to Keys and Mystic afterwards. From Neirea's perspective, I agree with you. Superjj can't afford to leave it. He doesn't know that he's got Ice Block. He doesn't know that he's got the Keys and Mystic in his hand, so the game's just
the game's just
ended
over
right here. It's just, you know, how do you punish a Druid? Well, I'm sorry, how do you punish a Freeze Mage? Well, this is how you punish a Freeze Mage.
You see Superjj kind of giggling about this one. He's loving it.
Yeah, just what can you do? Neirea is even kind of smiling like, what can you do with this one? He just got.
Just had it.
Yeah. I mean, this is such a beautiful card in the right circumstance, but other times it's just so ugly to look at in your hand. But that's the kind of things that you find with the HPL format, is players able to take these kinds of risks, and when they don't pay off, they can just revert back from their strategy. He's not committed to using Keys and Mystic every single game for the rest of the tournament. That's why you can find this card in the deck.